Another one.
Is QA on the way out? So this one goes. My boss told me yesterday that QA is on the way out and that we need to broaden our skills and shift left. Unit testing instead of end-to-end testing. Is this a trend across the US or the world, or is my company just in trouble? Also, if QA is actually on the way out, is it a cyclical thing where companies realize they made a mistake and need QA after all? It is this sort of new territory? Of course, and this is a different discussion, AI is a new threat. I finally installed Copilot at my boss's insistence. I wrote a sentence with typos and it spit out a Java method that does what the sentence asked for. I'm assuming that AI will rise up and kill. Yes, it will kill us all. Then the AIs will have its wars and economies, but I repeat myself. So let's get into it. Let me see. Did they say anything? So they gave an update. It seems like more of a company problem than an industry problem. I've never been at a company long enough to get to the maybe unit test will cover everything part of the cycle. I'm going to start. Okay, cool. Whatever. So let's get to this question, right? So is QA on the way out? Absolutely not. QA will be around forever. But what type of QA will be around forever? That is the question. So I agree with your boss or your boss's boss that you do need to shift left. All the way to unit testing? Maybe not so much. But I think you can have a strong influence on unit testing. The problem with end-to-end testing is that they are very, very flaky. Usually they're done in like Selenium or like a web browser, something like that, maybe Playwright, maybe Cypress, whatever. But the problem with these end-to-end tests is they take a long time and they are very flaky. And they are more testing they're testing functionality through the UI, which is the look and feel. And I am under the belief that we should not have our business logic heavily focused on the UI because the UI can change 1,000 times while the backend stays the same. And you know, like that's how companies do it because they're trying to attract customers. They might move one thing here and one thing there, and then your tests are going to fail all the time. So we need to make sure that our business logic is being tested. That's the first thing. Now the question is, should the business logic being tested at the unit test? I don't think so. I think that the unit tests are meant to test the smallest unit of code. So like the methods and the functions that the developers are building. But that's not a business logic test. For me, the business logic lies more at the APIs, more at the integrations, and that's where we need to be focusing on. We need to get better at API testing because I'll tell you this: when I was at the web hosting company, or not the web hosting, the website translation company, we didn't do anything with API tests. I was minimally exposed to API tests or to APIs, and that was like by chance. I think that we need to start moving our testing focus. So we need to have, all right, so there's going to be the most test there needs to be is going to be the unit test because we're testing the level of code. And I think you can have a strong influence on the unit test by starting to have the discussion with the developers early, having a test plan, let them know what you're going to be looking for, seeing what they're going to be doing. And you say, okay, what are your plans for writing the unit test? If you can encourage them, which is a long, it's a tough ask, right? But if you can get your developers to do test-driven development where they write their unit tests prior to writing their code so that once they write their code and it fails, then they can write the path, or once they write their test and it fails, they can write the code to make the test pass, and then they can keep that cycle going over and over and over again. Now, the next thing that you want to do, you want to focus on the business logic. So that should be your main focus, writing. So and the API level takes care of a lot of that business logic, the interactions back and forth, the requests. Because if it's done right, the UI is going to be consuming the API to send the information back and forth, and list things on the page. Now, you still need to have some modicum of UI tests because I have seen it before where the front end developers, they totally miss the ball and they say, "Oh, this is ready to test." And then as soon as you go to the homepage, you click on login, you have a blank screen because there was a React error, right? So you need to have some test around the UI, make sure like the basic functionalities work, but you cannot have your all your logic depending on the UI. When I was at another company, I was working on the API. I had about 1,000 tests that could run in like 5 minutes, if that much. 1,000 API tests that could run about 5 minutes, and then I had maybe about 15 to 20 UI tests. Those took like about 30 minutes to run. So I could quickly get a result from the API really, really quickly. And same thing with the company I'm at now. We have a nice suite of API tests. Our unit tests, we have about maybe 1,000 unit tests, right? And then we have maybe about 100 API tests, maybe more than that. And then we don't have any, like, we don't really have any UI tests, but the test that we have, it's testing like pipelines and things like that of like whatever. But that's the point that I'm saying though. Like, you need to test that business logic. That's the most important thing, because if that business logic goes down, then you are in a world of trouble. So I think that your boss is right to a certain extent. Maybe he's a little bit too ambitious and zealous about the unit test part, but the end-to-end test, that is it's still needed, but the main focus of end-to-end test is a thing of the past. I know there's a lot of companies still saying, "Oh, Selenium, or Playwright, or Cypress," but I focus on seeing people who have API experience. And when I'm coaching my tech barbarians, I'm like, all right, write me these API tests. Write me yeah, the UI is very minimal, but we focus heavily. We've been working on the API and just added authentication to it and stuff like that. So that is the part that I'm thinking about. So and the part about installing Copilot, and it wrote your Java method for you. But did you learn? But did you learn? That's my question, right? Did you learn? So I won't even waste my time addressing the other part about AI this, AI that. I think AI is a friend and it's here to help. And if you look at my thumbnails for this week, you will agree with me, because my thumbnails are absolute fire this week. And on that note, I am going to wrap up this question with a nice little bow on top.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.